We are in the presence of royalty. Yes, Network royalty. Did you listen to Yankee games this week, Kratz?
I missed the first one. I heard some good things, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, Todd, he's kind of mid at a lot of stuff. So I'm like, I'm going to turn the game on. And the only thing I heard was a lot of, see ya. Another one for Stan, Judge, Volpe. And Todd, you were electric. I have to say, I told people to go listen to you because you brought it. You brought it. I have to give you props, and that's it. That's the only time I'll do it.
You know what the best thing I heard from somebody afterwards? They said, Scotty Braun, move over. He's the new Scotty Braun. I said, you know what? I'll take that. So that's good stuff.
Wow. I mean, they're a little off their game because I'm play-by-play. I could never do analysis work like you. So I've been moved over since,
I'm just kidding. 8. You know I'm kidding.
I would love to see Scotty do some analyst work. No play-by-play. I want to see Scott with analyst work. I want to see him talk about swing plane.
Dude,
I want to work with Scott. We should all get a game together, all three of us.
I would love that.
Ooh, like a live watch.
Yeah,
like an alternate broadcast, which I talk about on every podcast interview that I do for someone's podcast. They're like, what should we do next? Like, what's next in baseball? I'm like, baseball's the perfect sport for this. They have not figured it out yet, but eventually there will be FT on alternate broadcasts once they allow us to. Because I agree, Todd Father. You put you, me, Kratz, you can get some of the other friends involved. Maybe Kenny Ballgame would join us one time, Junior, Pierzynski, Trevor May, the whole deal. So we'll work on it. But Todd, you were great.
I appreciate it. Thank you. That means a lot because I'm still kind of new and fresh, and I'm loving what I'm doing, man. Thank you.
You were really good, but here, so you don't get to talk about this during the broadcast because you're doing the game, right? And so for anyone that's unaware, and if you live somewhere else and you couldn't get the game, Todd Father was doing the Yankee series just now for the past few days with Michael Kay. How tough is it to do a game and to be prepared and to make sure you nail the moment? Like on here, we mess around, we got time, sure. We can, just be a little more goofy. On there, doesn't it feel like, I'm in business mode. Like I'm going to have fun and chill, but I also need to make sure I get people what they want and I got to do it quick.
Yeah. Like there's a couple things, trying to figure out when to get to the ballpark, what time you're allowed in the clubhouse, when Aaron Boone's speaking. And then you need a couple hours to do your homework. You got to go over everything they've done in the last some odd games, what milestones somebody's has coming up. What did they say in this presser that, can be used? And you don't want to overstep Michael's boundaries because he's going to talk about numbers a lot. And you don't want to be the numbers guy all the time, but you got to make sure you're in tune and fixed on what's going on. And you got to, the storytelling, like there's so much stuff that goes involved that people don't understand. And I have a blast with it. And I think that's what the best part is. Like I'm writing notes. You see my notebook. I got like 8 pages for each game. And, how much do I use of it? I might use 2 pages one time. I might use 6 another. But my main thing is to talk about the game within the game. And I think that's what people can relate to.
Okay. Agreed. Honestly, land the plane. Sheesh.
You landed.
That wasn't long. That was like 30 seconds.
Yeah. Jerk.
No, the parts that stood out are, of course, breaking down a play, that whole deal, knowing the players, you got that. But it's like when someone was doing something little in the dugout and you're like, yo, here's what he might be doing right now, or here's what he might be saying. Mm-hmm. That's the good stuff, right? That's what you can bring that no one else can bring, or that's what, a player can bring that's plugged in that no one else can. So I enjoyed that. That little part where they'd show a quick shot of something, and if there was the right time, like you had a break, in and the Scott, action, you could be like, yo, this is what he's doing.
You'll know how much quicker it is, too. The games with the pitch clock, you got to get in and out of what you're talking about. And sometimes, foul ball can help you. You're like, all right, good. I could kind of finish what I'm doing here. So,
yeah, all of my game calling was in the non-pitch clock era, so it was the opposite.
Yeah.
Felt like we would have a long combo, and then we look around and be like, damn, pitcher's like, not even set up yet. Pitcher's like lollygagging around the damn mound playing with the dirt
and
for another 40
And you did games when pitchers could throw to one hitter. So they'd come out, throw the one hitter, another pitching change, and you're like, I have no more stories. I cannot. I don't have anything else.
Worst rule in modern baseball history was when we didn't have a limit on timeouts. And I'll tell you why. When I called those games, and especially when you got later in the season and you had certain catchers, every other batter. Timeout. Every other batter. Posada, Yachty was pretty good at that. The vets, the guys you would expect, right? They're like, what are you going to do? Is anyone going to get pissed at me? Is anyone going to boo me? I don't give a shit.
There was a guys that took their time too. Ryan Braun, oh my God, took forever to get in the box.
Our guy Adam took forever.
You're right. Tell me, Kratz, those games are almost 4 hours long.
And he'd have his hand up.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, times are better now. I enjoy watching games a lot more now, and I'm glad I, spent an extra hour and change of my life on each and every game that I did with just absolute dead time. But anyway, let's charge the damn mound.
Charging the mound.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I'm seeing this right. Are we actually going to start with the A's Rockies game? The top of our show?
Electric!
It was an entertaining game. Okay, Kratz, give me the goods. I know you were excited about this one.
Well, we had our team party. End of the year party at my house, and I turned the MLB.TV on, and I'm like, the only game is the A's and Rockies game. Like, I got guys on my team that haven't played baseball, but I'm sitting there like, oh man, like it's the 8th inning. Not much is going to happen. 4-0 turned into exactly what you're seeing on the screen right now. A walk-off, 3-0, just chunked fastball in the dirt for the game winner. After they were down 4 in the 8th, then they were down 2 in the 9th, or 1 in the 9th. Old Mike Cameron Jr., Daz Cameron, hits a game-tying homer. Then they go down again in the 11th. Mason Miller gave a run for the first time since March 30th, and they're down by 4, and they come back, and they win it. It was the greatest game I could have ever had on the TV so far in this season so far.
Oh, wow. Exciting. Very exciting. I mean, if you had the under in that game, you're not very happy at all. I got to be honest with you. That's the problem about these now, because those extra innings, not most of the time, some of the times, run around second, one team will get one, and a ground ball here and a sac fly. Now it's another run, and they keep on going. But you saw the A's are playing exciting baseball. Watch out, baby. No, listen. That's what baseball's about. Play the game to the end. Two teams that are 99% sure not going to be in the playoffs. They're playing their hearts out, and they're enjoying the game, and that's all you can ask for. And it was a good game. People want to see good games.
Yeah, and the A's are better than the Rockies. I mean, the Rockies have some promising position players. The A's can pitch better for sure in my mind. But yeah, I mean, it was comeback city. You had the J.D. Davis homer, bottom 8, made it a 1-run game. It was cool. Some of the names too, right? So J.D. Davis is a story because he got screwed over this offseason and ended up with the A's after San Francisco, ended up not paying him his full amount because they signed Matt Chapman late. Daz Cameron is now in Oakland A, and he pops up with a solo home run. And then Geloff, who is probably their most promising young player, or one of 2 or 3 maybe on the position player side, with the tying knock at the bottom of the 10th. You have Mason Miller, who's the show, who finally looked human for once. But if there's one thing you should all know, it's that the Rockies bullpen is atrocious. It doesn't matter if they're pitching on the moon, in Colorado, in Oakland, you name it, their bullpen is terrible. Take it from someone who has way too many of their relievers on his fantasy baseball team. But anyway, when we get to the 11th inning, I'm trying to vulture saves and it's not working. But anyway, when we get to the 11th inning, there's an intentional walk and then 4 straight misses to Soderstrom to end the game. So people are like, really? We're intentionally walking anybody? I know you got a base open, but we're intentionally walking anyone to put our pitchers who lack control in a spot where they can't miss? Is that the move for Bud Black at that point?
It's the move.
Yeah,
it's the move because of what it enables the defense to do. It shrinks, it minimizes chances of them scoring. Can they not throw strikes? Yes, I get it. But they had just taken Lawrence out of the game, who was having an issue throwing strikes. You hope you bring Lambert in to get it done, and I mean, it wasn't close. I mean, I felt bad for him. He went 2-0, and some of the guys on my team, even where they were like, he just threw a 2-0 curveball with the bases loaded. And I'm sitting there like, he is grinding. I am not going to even talk about this situation, because then he ended up chunking the 3-0. He didn't feel it, but it's not like Bud Black can go out there and be like, hey, how you feeling? You want to go after this guy? First, second, and third. We'll go infield in. Now Bleeder gets in, beats you. Bases loaded. You have an opportunity. Get the out at home. Maybe a double play, but never a chance.
And I'll finish with this. It's a terrible feeling. Even if you're the pitcher, it's the worst feeling in the world. If you're a terrible feeling, even when you're on defense, you're like, but just don't walk them. Just let them put the ball in play so we can go out with respect here. And, it's that one kid on the mound when you're in Little League, you're like, you want to give him a chance and he just can't find the zone. You're like, man, here, give me the ball. Good try. And, it's just.
Give me the ball.
It stinks. That's all. It just stinks.
Go play left.
Yeah.
No, go to right. Go to right.
My last thought here, because you have two potential 100 loss teams going at it. I mean, Oakland's got a shot at staying in the 90s. I mean, they're 10 games under 500. The Rockies are a lock for 100 plus losses. There was another game that I was watching and listening to where they were trying to raise the spirits, because you can't just do a broadcast every single day and be like, well, we suck. In fact, the team won't let you do that. And at one point they're trying to paint a picture, and they're like, we have outfielders on this team that can play all three outfield positions. That's such great versatility. And I'm just like, I feel for the broadcaster that has to call 100 loss baseball, especially if it's year after year. It is not easy. It's not fun. And on top of all of that, you can't just tell it like it is. So they're trying to paint a picture of three dudes that are not first division players. Maybe one of them is a backup on a good team. And they're like, man, look at the versatility that we have in the outfield. We have guys that can play all three outfield positions. And they spent some time talking about that. And I'm like, oof, rough. So that's what it's like to call baseball for bad teams.
Think about Scott Fransky from the Phillies. He joined the Phillies in 06 or 07. He had that run from 7 to 11, and then he went 11 to 22, where the Phillies were completely irrelevant. Talk about
was it that long?
Fransky, yeah.
No, was it that long that they were irrelevant? They weren't even anything until 22? Was that the first year they were good again?
Yeah. I mean, because the Gabe Kapler time, they were like, they would lead the first half of baseball in wins, and then they would just tankopotamus because the whole bullpen was like on fumes. It was like Todd in a 50-yard dash, just breathing heavy.
Bro, I would crush you in a 50-yard dash.
I'm not saying you wouldn't. I'm saying your heart might explode. You might.
Yeah, if you have to do another one right after that, then I want to see who wins.
Ooh. No bueno.
You're all right, though. That reminds me of a Giants team last year that kind of ran out of steam late, which also was managed by Levy Cap, but you got to do things differently with the pitching staff. Let's get to that, though. So Skenes pitched yesterday for the Pirates. He was good. 6 innings, 1 earned run, 3 strikeouts. He's got a 2.25 ERA through his first 3 starts. We were watching that game side-eye while we were doing the show yesterday, because Joey Bart, grand slam against your former team, is cool too. But here's Skenes. So what's the report here on start number 3, where he wasn't blowing the world away, but he was doing his job? Are we okay with starts like this, or does this mean the league eventually will be able to figure him out? It's more from a swing and miss standpoint. Like, I actually was surprised he didn't get at least 6 punch outs. Like, they were making contact. It wasn't great contact, but it was contact.
Yeah, I'm plenty fine with this. His movement on his pitches were fantastic. 1 run in 6 innings. I mean, if he can do that for the rest of his career, I think that'll be Hall of Fame numbers. So listen, is he going to do it? No. I mean, but what is it? The splinker, they call it. It was right. That's what they call that new pitch.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Nasty pitch. You see him, he was throwing, anywhere from mid to upper 90s. Like, he wasn't over powering with hundreds and hundreds of miles an hour fastballs, but he was hitting his spots. And guess what? Let the defense work. You have a professional team. 1 run through 6 innings. Check mark. Another good outing.
He's going to average less than 9 strikeouts per start. 1 strikeout per inning. His
Really?
strikeout per 9 will be below a 9. And is my is my guess because of the way his pitch profiles as he stays in the league longer. So this is a great outing. 1 earned run, six innings. Yes, please. Come back in 5 days. We'll see you.
That's a hot take. I got to go look up the K per 9 numbers for starters in the league, but I actually think that's a hot take. You think he's going to be below 9 on a K per 9?
I think he'll hover right around there. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I would say under. Yeah.
Really?
Just because I think when you're young and you have the movement that he has, they're going to teach him to be in the zone, and unless that splinker becomes like a developed wipeout strikeout pitch, I think he's going to be a weak contact pitcher who's going to rack up his strikeouts because guys are going to have to start swinging because he's always going to be 0-2, 1-2. He's always just going to be attacking the zone. I just don't see him. I don't see him going out there and having a successful outing as 5 innings, 10 punch outs, because all he's doing is bang-a-rang, heater, top of the zone, bang-a-rang, heater, top of the zone, kind of like a Glasnow type of outing. I don't see that profile from him, but it's early. It's definitely early.
That's crazy though. So there's 30 starting pitchers right now, qualified starters in the bigs that are at 9 strikeouts per 9 or higher. Like Glasnow is obviously 11.69. He's a little bit behind Flaherty, who leads baseball right now at 11.95. You're saying he's not going to be as much swing and miss as, forget the top boys like
Who's
Heel
number
and
30?
Cease and Sale. Number 30, I believe, is Rodon. Let me get back here. Yep, 30 is Rodon. Then you've got Corbin, who might surprise some people that he's only at 9.05, but the cutter, you get a lot of weak contact. Savali, Morton, Suarez, they're all a little bit above 9.
I see him profiling in there, yes.
That's crazy. Ranger Suarez just as much K per 9 as Paul Skenes. See, that would be a surprise. I think that's a hot take.
I think Ranger's a little high right now for what he's doing, but he's also getting an opportunity to pitch as a healthy pitcher from the start of the season. He hasn't done that yet in his career.
Okay. Let's get some inside scoop. Friday scoop with FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal. Ken, first off, I don't know if you caught any Yankee games this week, but they sounded different.
They did?
Todd
I know. I did catch.
Wow, Ken, wow.
I'm just happy. Hey, I'm just happy Todd's still joining us.
Yes.
Because, he's now a Yankee announcer.
Wow. Good point, Ken. Good point.
People tweeting at him how great he is.
You saw that. I started off the show saying we have royalty on the show now.
I was waiting for a Ken tweet something nice so I can get some more followers, but I didn't see it. That's okay.
Well, here it is, in person. So I mentioned this also because I want to start with the Yankees. So I know you covered this a little bit on Fair Territory. I believe he was a dork was he your dork, Hal Steinbrenner, this week? He was, right?
Yes.
Okay, so here's my hook, okay? I know that he's coming out and talking about how the Yankees payroll, might have issues in the future. The key part for me was what he said at the end of his sentence, where he said, if we have to pay luxury tax numbers like this, because I don't think an owner has to come out and try and posture for a Juan Soto contract. Like, that's not going to work publicly. Who cares, right? For me, I think it's an owner taking the best shot that he can at some of his other colleagues, because you can't really do that, and saying, it sucks that I have to give so much of my money to other teams that don't even use some of that money. What did you take from it?
I didn't take that, Scott, but that's a pretty interesting interpretation of it. And certainly the Yankees do not like the way they are taxed, the way the money is distributed necessarily. All big market teams would prefer the luxury tax would be less or would just go away entirely, right? That's in their interests. That wasn't my takeaway. My takeaway was more along the lines of an owner essentially crying poor who has the richest team. And that's a hard swallow for a lot of people, for fans, for media, for small market teams, fans of those teams. And yet at the same time, Chris Kirshner of The Athletic today wrote a really interesting article about how they can still do Soto and they can still maybe even re-sign Clay Holmes and get to a payroll place where Hal wants to be, because they do have some expiring contracts, or guys who are going to become free agents. Alex Verdugo, for instance. You don't necessarily have to bring him back. You've got Jason Dominguez coming. So they can make some decisions along those lines. And I understand what Hal Steinbrenner is saying. You don't want the payroll in his mind to be 350 or 400. But for the Yankees to say they can't sustain it, what I said on the show yesterday was, open your books, prove you can't sustain it, because I don't believe that for a second.
I couldn't agree more with Scott. I think, because I've heard how much he doesn't like giving the other teams. He doesn't mind going over. It's like a guy that's like, I don't mind giving a good tip at a restaurant as long as the person I'm giving a good tip to is actually going to use the money for something good. But do you see a system for the Yankees that will not revolve around like how they're going to use their money and being like the essentially funding the Pirates, funding the teams that aren't paying, that they could switch to? Because salary cap will never happen. This is essentially being used as a salary cap. Do you see that as something that, hey, you know what, if we do this, then we don't have to give our money to those lower teams? Or is that something that's just going to continue to increase and it's going to continue to make the Yankees not want to spend?
Erik, I'll tell you what I see. I see in the next round of labor negotiations yet another issue, not just between players and owners, but between owners and owners. And this is what you guys are driving at. High revenue teams, low revenue teams, their interests are not nearly the same in many cases. And if you guys recall, and I guess probably you're too young to recall, but the 94-95 strike was driven by this entire issue, big market, small market. And it was a huge problem for the sport at the time. It's a huge problem again. And I don't know the solution. And this is perhaps Commissioner Rob Manfred's greatest challenge as owner, keeping this group together, because they do have different goals and different needs as owners. The Cleveland Guardians versus the New York Yankees, we're almost talking about two different worlds, right? So there is, I imagine, certain resentment among the big market owners. In fact, I don't have to imagine it. I know it. There is a resentment that exists. And there is also a feeling among small market owners and executives that this system does not work for us. It's not fair. We cannot compete. The results on the field don't necessarily indicate that always, but it is a greater challenge for those teams, certainly, than it is for teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers.
Yeah, I want to ask one more along the Yankees real quick. Luis Gil has been a godsend for this team. Nobody knew out of spring training what they were going to get. They knew he threw hard. They knew he had good off-speed pitches as well. Garrett Cole's on his way back, whether it's 3 weeks, a month. I don't know the timeline. When asked Aaron Boone the other day, he says, haven't really thought about it. Now, could you see them going to a six-man rotation? Or do you see, baseball always plays out the way it is? Like, what do you see happening there with the Yankees as Garrett Cole's timeline gets a little closer coming back?
I see this essentially working out in some fashion, and maybe somebody else gets hurt, maybe everyone's healthy, and they decide, let's save some innings with Luis Gil, who, remember, only in his first full season coming off of Tommy John surgery. So it's not like he's going to throw 180 innings this season. They're going to need to back off at some point, and Cole's return will give them the opportunity to do that. The goal will be, in my opinion, to have Luis Gil, this version of him, in some fashion in October. They want him in October being a weapon of some kind, whether it's in the rotation or perhaps as a long man, some kind of other bullpen role. You want all of these guys upright for the most important time of the year, and that is what they will do. They will try to arrange this however they can to make sure that they have the majority of their pitchers in as good form as possible come the postseason.
Yeah, very true. In the notebook yesterday, as you wrote in the windup, you talk about veteran influence. That's near and dear to my heart because, and Eric's, we were both veteran baseball players. We both understood the presence of veteran baseball players, how much they're needed. And it kind of seems like that's kind of fizzling out, or is fizzling out a little bit with the trade deadline looming. Talk a little bit about, who can be those veteran guys and what you think about, having those veteran presences if that is even a presence is in a word, along with the team moving on into the playoffs.
Well, the point of what I wrote, Todd, it was about the Royals. That we know what Seth Lugo's numbers are. We know what Michael Wacha's numbers are. They've both performed well. Lugo leads the American League in ERA. He's performed really well. But there is a value to guys like this that transcends what they do on the field. It goes beyond what they do on the field. And I talked to Brady Singer about this. He, of course, is a younger member of the Royals rotation. And he said, yeah, these guys, just watching them, you learn a lot of different things, how to study hitters, how to attack hitters, how to go deeper into games. And in preparing for our broadcast tomorrow, it's Dodgers-Reds, I was asking the Reds GM Nick Krall about Hunter Green. And he said, I believe that Frankie Montas, even in his brief time here, has been a good influence on Hunter Green. So this value that we're talking about, Todd, there's no question in my mind, having covered the sport, and I know you guys feel this way too, that even though you cannot measure it, it's there, it matters, it is meaningful, and while it doesn't necessarily translate to very specific things on the field, there is something going on there. Now, you ask about the deadline and which guys might provide that. Off the top of my head, I know I've talked about this guy a lot, Tommy Pham. He did that for the Mets last year. Kevin Pillar, maybe not at his peak in his performance, but at the same time, he's that kind of guy. Those aren't necessarily frontline players. Those are complementary players, so it's maybe not the same. But that presence we speak of, it has gotten diminished over the years in the club's evaluations of players, and it should not be. Simple as that.
Ken, if you want to ever stop writing and you could come up with a formula to value veteran leadership and who has the most value to veteran leadership, you could sell that to all 30 teams and you could just go off on your yacht and soak up the rays. So,
well, I think I'll stick to the day job, Erik, because I have not figured that out. But I can write about it, and hopefully that has some meaning in some fashion.
Speaking of writing about it and speaking of trips, are you scheduling a trip to Las Vegas for Evan Drellick, talking about how the stadium in Vegas has to break ground maybe April?
Well, all along, I've been skeptical of this whole thing. And observers of the Oakland A's and their ownership over the years and their efforts to get stadiums built are skeptical, because until the shovel is in the ground, until we're going here, 2028 is a great idea. It's a goal. It's not reality. So we shall see how this all goes down. And again, it's all systems go from everything we're told. The commissioner certainly has not indicated anything otherwise. The owners have approved this. Everything's going forward. I know there are some lawsuits pending and those kinds of things, but we'll see if this thing gets built by 2028. That's going to be really interesting.
Well, I want to back it up. I want to back it up a little bit to now, because Evan also talked about how in Sacramento, well, Rob Manfred said that in Sacramento, they are doing some renovations to the visiting clubhouse. They're building a building. Do you know, and this is just a personal thing, do you know who's paying for this? Because why is Rob Manfred coming out and saying this? Is MLB paying for these renovations to get them up to specs to the Players Association, or is Fisher actually paying for these renovations?
I don't have an exact answer for that. I probably should know that. But I would imagine it's either Fisher or a combination of Fisher and MLB. Who else would pay for it?
And so that would be my question. Why is the MLB stepping in?
Or maybe Sacramento might be contributing as well. But I don't know the answer to this. I should.
Okay, that's fine. It was something I wanted to. I figured if somebody would know, it would be you, Ken. But that's okay. I'm glad you were honest.
Well, bring me in for a sec here, okay? Because when something like this is going on, here's been one of my main problems. I was on a pretty popular podcast, Ricky Henderson podcast, yesterday while that Oakland A's game was going on, which we covered at the top, which was fun. But we did, of course, have to talk about the ugly stuff going on with the team. The fact that we don't know anything and the public doesn't know anything continues. Like, there are no updates. This is, if you're going off their rhetoric, this is supposed to be fun and exciting times, right? We're bringing baseball to Vegas. Nobody knows anything. We continue to get a lack of updates and just very weird public comments, right? I'm sure you feel the same way.
I will say this. It might be out there who's paying for this, and I simply did not read it or have not seen it. I don't know that this is a hidden ball kind of thing. I don't want to go there and say that. Now, in general, yes, there's not a lot that we know, or maybe there's more that we should know, but at the same time, I'm not going to condemn them for this. I don't know what's been said and not said with regard to this.
No, sorry, I misspoke. So I'm more talking about breaking ground. Like, you can't give us any updates, like right? Like, hey, this is the plan. We're trying to break ground at this time. Like, you would think that you would get a timeline because it's an exciting time. And from what I remember from past either ballpark experiences, especially upgrades, like even in Miami, right? I was in Miami during that whole experience. They were constantly providing updates on what was going on. Yes. I mean, with local politicians and then with breaking ground updates, like we had constant updates. And back then we were still using newspapers at times too, right? And I remember because I was finishing up school and we were doing a course that was covering what was going on down there because there was a lot going on. And we've talked to David Sampson about it. But my point is there were constant updates. And we constantly have no idea what's going on, and we're all still a little bit skeptical, and now even feel like maybe the team ends up staying in Sacramento, and the smart man who's friends with John Fisher and has a home next to him might be thinking that this is going to get botched again.
Well, maybe if you're the Oakland A's and you don't know exactly what's going on, you can't give those updates, and I think that's what you're driving at here. They're not entirely set on these different timelines. And for that reason, there's a bit of mystery to this whole thing. And again, it's the Oakland A's. There's a long history here of things not going the way they're supposed to go with regard to stadium construction. San Jose, Fremont, we can go right down the line. Oakland, all of these places that they supposedly were going to go and didn't go. This one is further down the line. There's no question about that. And at the same time, because it's Fisher and because it's the A's, I'm not sure you can entirely trust it.
Mm-hmm. All right, I got one fan question for you here, Ken. Kelsey said, would love to know what Ken thinks about how the balanced schedule is playing into the standings and the records and the first quarter narratives of teams. Not as easy to predict how it will shake out come October. I would like to also just preface it and say I love the balanced schedule, which I said last year as well. I just think it provides more variety to our game.
Kelsey, I'm with Scott, first of all, on this. I like the balanced schedule. I like what it's done for the sport. I don't know that I can make any kind of accurate judgment on how it's playing into this. The one shocking scheduling thing of this season is that the Phillies have played, only 3 teams that are currently above 500 or were above 500 at the time they played them. That would lead you to believe that their record has been enhanced by a weaker schedule. At the same time, you've got to beat those teams. And I know with travel, there was some question early on. Will there be more travel for certain teams? And the way I understand it, there's more travel in certain years, less travel in other years for, say, a specific team like Seattle, okay? So that balances out. But as far as the impact on standings right now, I don't know that anyone could say, here's the answer. The one thing that has really changed, in my opinion, over the last few years is not necessarily related to the schedule, but the expanded postseason. That gives us an entirely different reference point when we talk about buyers and sellers and what might happen at the deadline. It seems to me that it's almost like even teams that have not played well, it's only late May, the expanded postseason exists, there's 3 wild cards, we do a little bit of the deadline, if we like our chances, we can do it. Diamondbacks were like that last year. So that's the biggest change for me, the biggest thing that's influenced club behavior.
Last one, Ken, and then we got the long weekend, and I want to remind everyone Ken's back on Tuesday for Fair Territory. We'll observe the Memorial Day on Monday. I know you talked about it a little bit in Fair Territory with Lana. We haven't covered this yet, so I just wanted to get your quick take, and then we'll get these guys to bounce their thoughts off of it. You had Michael Wilbon, who I like. I've followed him for years, a national writer and broadcaster on PTI, said that he hates exit velo and any numbers and all of that. And I loved the reply from JJ Cooper, who was like, yeah, we should get rid of miles per hour for NASCAR too. Like, let's just get rid of everything. So what were your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm a Michael Wilbon fan too. I worked in Baltimore for many years. He was in Washington. He is an extremely good guy. He was good to me. But we've seen now twice ESPN commentators, both of whom are basically basketball centric, right? Michael Wilbon and Stephen A. Smith venture into baseball without a lot of knowledge about baseball. Trout gets hurt too much, according to Stephen A. Smith, and now Michael's saying the exit velo is ruining the sport for him, or ruining sports in general for him. This is why, in this day and age, it's probably better to focus on one specific sport the way I do than talk about things you don't have any knowledge of. And the exit velo debate is a legitimate one, and I understand the frustration of some fans who say, listen, it's not that important. Look at these guys like Stanton who hit the ball hard. He's having a good year this year, but he hasn't always been that way. You look at O'Neal Cruz, yeah, great. He's basically an above average offensive player, but not a great offensive player. Yes. My point on this was that performance Tuesday night, that was a great performance, and it was measurable. It was quantifiable. We came to have a better appreciation of it because we knew what the numbers were and we knew what the context of the numbers were. So I wish Michael hadn't said that because he got crushed for it, and Michael Wilbon is one of the most accomplished people in our business and one of the best people in our business. But we all say things that we don't always think entirely through, and I would think he would like this one back.
Yeah, I honestly think there's not much really to talk about in the NBA. I mean, it's so they try and figure out something else they can figure out. I mean, listen, it is what it is. People are going to have their opinions, and then we move on from there. I know you're in Cincinnati.
Todd, let's bring it up right now. This is the first game I believe I've done in Cincinnati, not including the All-Star game, since you crushed my finger. I think it was 2013. I think it was this pinky finger right here. Foul ball by Frazier. Now, admittedly, I had my head down. I was tweeting something at the time. It was about Terry Collins when he was manager of the Mets. But that finger took a serious hit. 10 stitches, broken. I had to get it stitched up by the Pirates doctor because the Reds doctor went home. So, Todd, I'm freaking out a little bit being back here, man.
So here's what you do. Simple. You go to that same spot before the game. You put your hand where it was on the railing, and you say, Lord, just please save this hand. That's all. And you say a little prayer to yourself, and guess what? You're going to look around and be like, all right, I'm back. I'm good. All right?
Well, it wasn't on the railing. It was on the mic. And Fox asked me which side of the field I wanted to be on. Now, I was on the third base side of the field that day. You pulled the ball, vicious. It must have been 150 miles an hour.
Probably.
And I asked to go on the other side of the field this time.
Hey, enjoy your game on Fox tonight, 7:10, Reds-Dodgers.
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Excuse me.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really good matchup. So enjoy that. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you, Ken. I'm watching and listening just to make sure Ken is okay. And yes, I like how he brought up the exit velo too, because yes, we can bring up the exit velo. Todd scorched the ball. Yes, Kratz?
You're on the first base side now. You know Shohei hits some foul balls, right? I mean, let's get you need a better scouting director, okay? Like we need full catcher's gear.
Erik, what I need to do is not put my head down. We can start there, and then hopefully injury will be avoided.
Such a millennial. Always on your phone.
Bodyguard with a glove would help too. Ken, good luck. We'll be watching on Saturday on Fox. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. Ken Rosenthal, FT Senior Insider and host of Fair Territory, which was running on Monday and Thursday this week. Thursday was live, which was yesterday with Alana Rizzo. Episode is out wherever you get your pods and on YouTube. Check it out. They talked about O'Neal Cruz. They talked about the exit velocity combo, more on the Yankees, and just answering a ton of questions. It's a great show. And then next week, he'll be on Tuesday and Thursday because Monday is Memorial Day. Real quick, before we get to the next thing, did you guys see what Wilbon said? And do you have any thoughts? I know Todd mentioned it for a sec. Kratz, we didn't talk about it this week either. There were a couple fans that asked for quick thoughts. I was like, listen, I think Wilbon and Stephen A are very different in my opinion because I've watched plenty of them growing up. Stephen A is a performer. Wilbon, I think, actually is a little more in-depth than that, but he just doesn't like numbers. It's a little get off my lawn, and I don't care. That's fine. I'm just like, dude, you don't have to pay attention to the numbers. We're not shoving them down your throat. If it's like a stat-oriented alternate broadcast, like you don't have to watch it. But otherwise, like, flashing on the screen and talking about it every once in a while is pretty harmless.
Especially with exit velocity. But he prefaced he bookended it. He bookended his comment that he doesn't like numbers when he's like, he's hitting 260. Call me when he's hitting what Tony Gwynn hit, 330.
Yeah.
Call me. Well, those are numbers. You used to not go to a baseball game and have guys' batting averages on the scoreboards. You just had the dots. 2 strikes, 1 ball, 2 outs. Like that's what the scoreboard was. How many hits the team had? You don't know. You didn't know how many, hits above average somebody has or walks plus hits per innings pitched. Like now we have all those numbers. And to me, one of the most relative fun numbers is exit velocity. I know when it started to go onto the scoreboard at games, guys would hit the ball and as they were running, whether it was an out or it was a double, they'd look up at the scoreboard just to like, what was it? Because it flashes up real quick and then it's gone. So like guys want to, like even players are looking at it like, oh, how hard did he throw it? Oh, how hard did he hit that? Like that is a fun, interactive thing that games and teams and stadiums are doing and broadcasts.
Also,
Go ahead,
Todd. If you're trying to build a team just based on batting average nowadays, your team's going to suck. I mean, there's a lot of writers that are, I don't want to say a lot of writers, a lot of national pundits that don't pay much attention to baseball. And they're like, the guy's only hitting 260. Do you know what the league batting average is right now? It's 240. He's hitting 260. The game has changed. So just talking about batting average is lazy, and also it's just not how players are evaluated. It's one piece of the puzzle. Like we talk about it too, it's fine, but there's 30 other pieces of the puzzle. There's a million other stats that we go off of for player evaluation, and that's okay.
No, and I think he doesn't understand the difference how pitching was back in the day to it is now. I'm not saying it was hard to hit. It's hard to hit either way. But now you're facing guys that are throwing 95 plus on a consistent basis, not just a handful. And it's hitting's a lot harder. And I think he doesn't understand that. So that would be my last point.
There you go. All right, let's brighten everyone's day right now, because there's nothing better than hearing Erik Kratz talk about our new fave. What I got today, baby.
Oh, you already mixed it? I'm so jelly.
I brought this on just for you. While you talk about it, I'll take a little sip. Yeah, there you go. AG1, obviously we're into our health, our energy, gut health for me, a big deal. I talk about that a lot. And for Kratz, his focus, immune system support. So we're a big fan of what AG1 brings to the table, whether you're at home or, hold on, I have it too, on the road. AJ's actually getting involved now, and he's all about the travel packs because he doesn't even feel like measuring it out with the scooper. So he's like, I'm just all travel packs, so I don't even have to think. It takes one step away.
I do actually like the scooper, the at-home scooper. It's like, I don't know what it is, ceramic or glass, but they make it so easy for you. The at-home scooper, it's in my fridge. It's in a nice container that they sent with us in our box, and you can scoop it. You're running out the door, you scoop it, you throw it into some water. What'd you put that with there, Scotty? Like 12 ounces of water? It goes down super easy.
Exactly. I got the measuring right here.
And it's so, like that bottle. I'm washing my bottle right now, but I'm about to go on the road, and I'm going to take these packs, and it could not be simpler. Because before, the things I would take, I'd be scooping them in a bag and like a Ziploc bag, and then the Ziploc bag busts out into my travel bag or into my suitcase, and then I got whatever powder I put in there. But not with these packs. These packs just fit super nicely, going away for 5 days, 3 days, take 3 or 5. Only problem is now my family wants them because they taste good. Like most of this stuff, you're like, ugh, I can't even hit. It tastes good. And my kids are like, yeah, I'll try some. So everybody's getting healthy.
AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that supports your body's universal needs like gut optimization, stress management, and immune support. Since 2010, AG1 has led the future of foundational nutrition, continuously refining their formula to create a smarter, better way to elevate your baseline health. And if there's one product I can recommend to elevate your health, it is AG1. That's why we're excited to welcome them as a new partner in the FT fam. It's not only an easy way to replace your multivitamin, but every scoop also includes prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes for gut support. So if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/foul. If you want to support the FT fam and go check this out, the website is drinkag1.com/foul. Check it out. I recommend you at least go take a look over at our website.
I have to say, everybody in the commercial has nice hair, including our next guest.
That's right. That continues right now. First time on the show. Andy Martino joining us right now, who obviously you can follow at Martino NYC for a lot of inside baseball news and reports and everything else, and does a great job for SNY. But also now, Andy, great to have you on, the author of a brand new book. You want to introduce that to the world here on FT?
Sure. And before I even do that, I got to say I was happy to get this request. Todd, I know I told you at the beginning of the week we ran into each other in an elevator, but you did a bang-up job in that booth, man. You were good. So I hope to see more of that.
Thank you.
And we're talking. I'm sorry if that is inconvenient to the rest of you to fluff him up more, but it just happens to be the truth.
Thank you.
And Erik, man, I feel like I know you because of the work you did with the great Tim Brown, who's a great friend of mine. But that book, I just wrote a baseball book, and I'm still telling you that your book is the best baseball book that's come out in years. So I mean it. I'm not just buttering you guys up for a nice interview. I mean both of those things. My book's called The Yankee Way. Thanks, Scott. It's called The Untold Inside Story of the Brian Cashman era, as you can see right there. I spent about 2 years talking with Cashman about his time running the team, and even before then, just basically the modern history of the Yankees. But it's not his book. It's not his memoir. It's not his project, and he didn't have any control over it, which was important to both of us, actually, because he didn't feel it was time to write a book, and I didn't want to just be his mouthpiece. So I interviewed everyone I possibly could who'd been in or around that Yankee front office, clubhouse, competitors, whoever I could get to tell the full story of how that team has operated over decades. And that's basically what I did, and it came out this past week.
And give us a preview. What is going to tell us what's the one thing that's going to tell us that we don't know about the Cashman era? Because my opinion, before I even read your book, I hope you're praising this guy, because I think he has been one of the most underrated, underappreciated, probably because of the city that he's in, GM in the game.
Well, I didn't even have to praise him, Erik, because people kind of did that in their own interviews. I would say, you asked me what was most surprising. There's a lot of juicy stuff in there that comes when you report a book. Like, I didn't know how Joe Torre and Brian Cashman had their falling out. Now I know. That's in the book. Details about Aaron Judge's captaincy and leadership. Some unsung heroes, some guys in scouting that, other than the famous Gene Michael, that helped to build up that Yankee team. I learned a ton about that. But what you mentioned, the way Cashman is perceived maybe by a lot of fans and the way he's perceived inside the game, that might have been the biggest revelation, because the gap there is just massive. And I know that he's done battle with some high-profile players who might not be his biggest fans, but his rivals, I'll give you an example. I interviewed Billy Beane, who I think, probably because of Brad Pitt and the book, might be the most famous baseball GM of the past generation, but he is so convicted that Cashman is the best. He said he's the Tom Brady of GMs. He's the best executive in the history of the sport. And when I said, do you think Cashman's going to be in the Hall of Fame? Beane actually started yelling at me a little bit. He's like, what's a ridiculous question? Every time that man's name comes out of your mouth, you need to say future Hall of Famer first. And what it is, they've had fewer than 24 games since 1998, over 4,000 games that they've been eliminated from contention. They've never been below 500 since the early 90s. You guys inside the game understand that that's basically impossible. Even the great teams rebuild or have an off year, don't meet expectations. So the consistency of their program is I think, one part of the stories that I'm telling. And I just couldn't believe. I knew Cashman was well regarded. I knew fans sometimes want him fired, but that difference in the perceptions inside and outside the game, that was like huge.
No doubt. And I think, excuse me, you bring up some really good points about him, what he's done, all the stuff he's been through. He's been there for a very long time. And then by no means am I saying I'm looking for somebody, but do you see any successor to him coming up soon, or whenever he wants to end up leaving?
So this is a really good question, Todd, because as I was reporting this, I had this interesting experience where other people in the organization, as I'm interviewing them, are saying to me, you think this is his last contract? Do you think he's on the way out? So that shows you how close he holds his cards, even to the people around him. And I asked him directly, and he played it a little coy. But what I will say is, his current deal is up in after the 26th season. He flirted with the idea of not coming back after 22 when that deal was up. But Judge was going to be a free agent. There was so much to do. He's so loyal to the Steinbrenner family that he, of course, did come back. But there's a lot of belief around him that he could be eyeing the end could be in sight here for this unbelievably long, successful tenure. And a specific name that I came up with, all through up and down that organization, people expect a guy named Kevin Reese is the guy who's positioned to succeed him best. Now, Reese is exactly what the Yankees look for in a baseball ops leader, in that he played. He's got that on-field experience. He's been in pro scouting. Now he's in player development. He understands the analytical piece, but he's got that blend. And that goes back to Gene Michael, who had the blend. Tim Nearing, who is unbelievably valuable now for them in their front office, who has that blend. Nearing's the guy that explains to me, what's the Rapsodo do? Explain to me these crazy numbers. Like, from a player voice, he can break that down. And Cashman and the Steinbrenner family view Kevin Reese in that same vein as somebody who can speak both languages. There's that way to stereotype, but there's the analytics and there's the scouting, that divide. And what the Yankees are trying to do is find human beings that have all of that integrated. And Todd, frankly, I think they've come a long way with that since you played there. That was sort of the beginning, and there was some awkward maybe transition there. But now, just talking to Garrett Cole recently, the implementation, the communication, the analytics, better than ever. And they see Reese as someone who could continue that potentially as a leader.
Andy, let me get your thoughts on Hal's comments this week.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to try and work something out with Soto, and they could communicate with him during the season. To me, that's not like shocking news by any means. What do you think of the comments about the payroll? And there's been two sides here. I'm trying to push my own narrative, so I'll see if you bite, okay? There's the narrative of, an owner's posturing because they're going to be in an intense contract negotiation with someone like Soto, who's having a career year on a team that's going to want to keep him. I don't think there's any posturing that you can do. He's going to try and get as much money as possible. My thing was just an owner taking a shot at the end of the comment about how it's unsustainable with the luxury tax situation, which is a shot at other colleagues who just scoop up that money into their vacuum and often don't spend it. And also, ultimately, some owners want a salary cap too. So I think that's more the motive. I've spoken to some other people connected to the big market teams who feel the same way. What did you take from the comments?
Scott, I think that's a great insight. I believe Ken has offered that analysis too. Being around the Yankees all these years, you can't overstate how much they dislike that revenue sharing model. And you've got Hal coming out of these meetings. I don't presume to know if something in those meetings had that situation top of mind. But I mean, the Yankees in some ways feel they're not the only big market team that feels this way, but like you're subsidizing a team like the Rays in some way to beat you. And so that's a whole other conversation about that model, but I think that's great context. I think the other thing to remember about Hal Steinbrenner that I learned, or maybe not to remember, but for me to describe about him, is that although he is so remarkably different in his impulsiveness or lack of impulsiveness from his father, the emotion, the passion, the enthusiasm are actually quite strong, to the point where people that work for him can really feel that heat at times, as they should. I've talked to other owners who've been with him in owners' meetings when the Yankees have been going badly in the past and say, boy, Hal's really wearing it. He's not happy. The Yankees just lost 2 or 3 or what have you. So my point is that when push comes to shove, just like he did this past off season, taking on Soto, trading prospects for him, wanting to get Yamamoto, which would have pushed that payroll even crazier. If the Yankees are in a moment where they feel like if they're aggressive and they can win, Hal's going to approve that, because when they want to go all in, they do. And their priority is to get back to that World Series. They're as hungry and thirsty for that taste of late October again as their fans are. So I just don't buy that we're going into some payroll cutting mode for the Yankees. I do buy that Hal doesn't want to be paying 110% tax on every dollar. Neither does Steve Cohen, which influenced the Mets roster decisions this offseason. But I understand why fans don't want to hear that, and why maybe it came out a little bit more severe than, I don't know exactly what he intended, but it was a little deflating probably for people to hear. But I think you're on the right track with what he was actually meaning by that, Scott.
I want to meld the two things that we've talked about so far, Cashman and George and Hal. Who's the architect of all these teams? And did you flesh that out while you were talking to people or even talking to Cash? Like, was George and Hal the architects of those teams, or was Cash the one that was saying, guys, hey, this is a value here. We want this. And they're like, yeah, stamp of approval.
Well, you know what's interesting? It's a great question. And as I'm doing this reporting on baseball operations over a group over 40, 50 years, you realize just how collaborative it all is. The buck stops with the GM and the owner, but we hear about Gene Michael. There's a guy named Bill Livesey, who baseball people know and respect, who designed so much of the Yankee philosophies in the 80s that still exist now. Like, if you want to know why they traded for Harrison Bader a couple years ago, or why they moved Gleyber Torres off shortstop, or were eager to move on from Luke Voigt, or what have you, current decisions have their roots in what a Bill Livesey did in the 80s, setting philosophies while Cashman was an intern and then a young employee. Then you've got a George Steinbrenner who contributed a lot of instability, but also probably knew how to push buttons to get people to really go all in when it was time for some dynasty years. Then you have Cashman, who is obviously making all of the roster decisions, or most of them, for the past couple of decades with support from Hal. So that kind of success is going to require good relationships and close communication. But I would say if you're looking at baseball ops, Gene Michael, Bill Livesey, and a guy named Jack Butterfield, who's the father of Brian Butterfield, the well-known coach. These guys were like foundational pieces, and Brian Sabian too. Cashman has moved it forward over the past couple decades, and Hal, because he's more rational and not as eager to hire and fire people all the time, has helped to keep that success in place. Was that too long an answer? Or did that help with what you were looking for?
That is perfect. As a guy that got signed and fired and signed and fired 4 times with the Yankees, I love hearing every one of those names, because you talk to somebody like Narin, you talk to somebody like Booney, who's been in the org, and you talk to Cash. They always bring up those names, like the lessons they learned from those guys. Mm-hmm. And we talk about a long history of the Yankees. There's a reason. It's because of the people that they bring in. And if they stop bringing in good people, the Yankees will cease to be the Yankees, which Steve Cohen could say across town, okay, I love hearing Hal say we're not going to spend money. Is he going to pounce this offseason, or is he just going to kind of lay in the weeds and put the money out there and then pounce?
I don't think that Cohen would say that quote the way Hal said it exactly, but I think he would agree in some respects of like, we can't be jammed up with 110% luxury tax every year. So the spirit of that comment, I don't think Cohen would be that different from it. He's always going to be an aggressive spender as the owner of the Mets, but I think with David Stearns there as a GM who has process-based and considers himself rational in that way, I think that spending will always be selective, like targeted, like the Dodgers, really. I mean, how many big free agents have the Dodgers passed up on during the Guggenheim years, even though now, obviously, they're coming out an off-season where they had a much more aggressive approach. But Mets fans hoping that Cohen will be in on every free agent. We've already seen, like with Aaron Judge, for example, that's not always going to be the case. But Hal and Cohen have that competitive gene, both of them. I've been around them and their people enough to know that they're ready to push their chips into the table at the right moment, but Cohen's not going to be spending like a drunken sailor, just like Hal plans on not doing that. Now, obviously, the natural follow-up to that is the Soto free agency and how that's going to play out between those two. And will Cohen, with his better resources, make an offer that Soto can't refuse? That's what everybody is waiting to find out, of course.
And I like how they went at it this past offseason, although they both lost for Yamamoto. But you haven't seen the Mets and the Yankees battle at that level too much in the past couple decades, but I think we're going to get a lot more of it, and I'm here for it. I think New York will love it. So my question to you is on the Pete Alonso side of things, which obviously is dominating the storylines for Mets fans for a while now. And I know I can't totally pinpoint it, and you probably can do this better. I know there were some reports about the last offer from the Mets being, I think, like a 7-150-ish last June. So where are we at? And if the Mets are not good, which I think will be the case, like they'll be 10 games under 500 come trade deadline. If they trade him, that's a move, because it's a guy who wants to be a Met for life.
Yeah, that report about the contract offer from Joel Sherman was accurate. I'd heard the same after Joel reported it. So that was what he turned down. That shows you that his expectations are quite high. I thought Ken at The Athletic did a great job recently breaking down the complexity of Alonso's free agency, and I think there was a line in that column that I completely agree with, which is Alonso might be worth more to the Mets than to anybody else. And that's not a knock on him, but he's their icon. So it's a situation where you might pay a premium to keep a guy, whereas the rest of the league, through their analytical lens, is looking like it's not the greatest financial time to be a slugging, right-handed, power-hitting first baseman who's going into his 30s. Now, Alonso has elite power, like 70, 80 power, right? And that's hard to find, and he's been a great Met. So to me, I could see a fit there because it's worked so well for both sides so far, but that's another one. Some people speculate on the Yankees with him. I don't think he has the right handedness, and I don't think he has the right defensive profile for the Yankees. It's one thing Bill Livesey came up with in the 80s. Was a third baseman. He ranked all the tools in order of importance for each position. And for a third and a first baseman should have at least their field tool should be at least their third best tool in the Yankee way philosophy. And Alonso's not quite there. That's why Todd Frazier would have been a Yankee way third baseman for all of your career, because they like corner infielder guys that can really pick it, right? So I think Pete and the Mets makes a lot more sense to me than Pete and anyone else that I can think of top of mind. And as far as trading him, boy, you'd have to be really far out of the wild card to be able to swallow that. And who is anymore that far out of the wild card to make a big move like that? But we'll see. They're not trending in the right direction, obviously.
To finish on the Pete Alonso thing, it's just that, as you said it perfectly, that's his home. This is where he needs to be. I just can't picture him somewhere else. And, you got Steve Cohen coming out and said, about the playoffs and about this and that, about, not looking too good. They're going this way right now. And I think the only thing that can spark them up right now is signing him, in my opinion. But, I don't see that happening.
No. Soto, as you guys well know, Soto and Alonso have an agent who, in Scott Boras, you get this close to free agency, you'd be crazy not to try to get both New York teams, other people into a bidding war. We'll just see. The Alonso free agency is fascinating in light of what's happened with some of the Boras clients with high expectations last offseason. The way I just described Pete's profile, which isn't always what teams want to spend the most on these days. I agree with you, Todd, that it's a fit there. I'm not ready to say, I think it'll get done, because he's a really good player and he's going to be on the open market for 30 teams to consider. But it does. It feels like a fit, just like Soto feels like a fit for the Yankees. It seems to be settling to a point where you're like, I can see both of those guys going back to the teams that they're already on, because that feels like home for both of them, for both of those Boras clients.
Yeah, like a Judge situation. You get to free agency, you dance a little bit, you get a nice dinner with a couple teams, and then you go back home. So I think that would work.
Well,
Andy,
Judge danced more than a little bit, Scott. I got to say, that was a scary moment for the Yankees. The arson judge and is he going to the Giants? And I was around the Yankee front office that whole winter meetings, and they were freaking out. No idea where he was or where he was at. But so they're hoping that this is less stressful. But yeah, I take your point. Ultimately, that those guys will come back to their home teams.
They played him good, though. Oh, look, Judge is at the hotel.
Yeah.
Oh, look,
how about
here
that?
he is. Paparazzi. I'm sure you got some of that in the book, right?
That one I did, and this is no knock on Aaron Judge. You got to give him and his agent, Paige Odell, props for this. But a guy in the Giants told me that the Judge group admitted that TMZ thing was, let's just say it was part of the playbook. So you're like, all right, well played. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, hey, Aaron Judge, what are you doing here? It was, they knew what they were doing, and they beat the Yankees in that negotiation. Let's be clear. The number ended up so much higher than where the Yankees were at, and it works out for everybody. He's a great leader, great Yankee, but some of that free agent stuff was definitely wild, and that is in the book.
Yeah, I love that. All right, perfect way to end it then. Everyone go check out The Yankee Way wherever you get your books. Go look it up right now. Amazon, local bookstore, Barnes & Noble, etc. It came out a few days ago. Andy, great to have you on here, man. Don't be a stranger. Loved having you.
Anytime, guys. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, same here. It was awesome. Andy Martino, you can follow him at Martino NYC. Really, really good insight on Yanks, Mets, and of course much more in the book. And you can see him on SNY. We'll be right back with Ump Show, which I know a lot of you have been requesting. Get ready.
Unified Healing is sponsoring this episode of Foul Territory. Unified Healing is an innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. This technology promotes wellness and deep relaxation, and there are hundreds of locations across the globe. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/foul to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYD healing.com/FOUL. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System.
Steer right.
Orioles, White Sox last night ends on a double play in the ninth inning on an interference call, and people were losing their minds. I mean, some White Sox fans losing their minds. We know the wins and losses don't really matter for the team at this point. But also, it did matter for my wallet because that was a major hit for me. We'll get to that later in our lock seg. Major. But anyway, 8-6. Here's the play. We're looking at it right now. Anyone want to describe who feels like they're more up to speed on the rules? Or maybe actually let's do this. Who wants to take over giving the play-by-play for the podcast crowd that's listening later? Who's more pissed off about how this play ended? Are either of you bothered about it?
I'm not.
No?
I'm not bothered at all.
Krasinski
I
is.
feel,
Did you
look,
see his
that's
tweet?
the rule. It's unfortunate, but I see why the White Sox fans could get upset. The ball was popped up. Kimbrel wasn't on the high wire act. His teammates put him on the high wire act. He came in, got Benintendi to hit a mile-high big league pop-up. And as Henderson's coming in, Vaughn's looking to just walk back to the base. And fans are going to say, oh, he didn't try to get in his way. That's not the intent of the rule. I get that. But you can't measure intent at game speed. And he got in the way. He got in the way of Gunnar Henderson. It's just like the whole Will Middlebrooks at third base in the playoffs. Will Middlebrooks was laying on the ground. He didn't try to get in Alan Craig's way. So that's the opposite. That's the opposite way of it. Now he's not making a play. The defender cannot get in the way of the base runner. So to me, as much as it doesn't go the way of the White Sox, it goes really good for your run line that you had for the Orioles, Scott, because it was looking like it was going to be in serious shambles there. And people are like, well, what's Vaughn supposed to do? He has to be more aware. You have to do everything you can. It's like when you get hit by a line drive and, as a base runner. Well, what's he supposed to do? He couldn't do anything. It wasn't his fault. You're right, it's not his fault, but you have to have unintentional rules that are mitigated because at game speed, you can't tell if there's intention or not. So you take it out of there and the rule's the rule.
So say, and I agree with you 100%, Eric, say he's running and he's watching the ball the whole time and that runner did the same thing, but he runs into him. It's the runner's fault still. So that's what the rule is for. The only thing I would contradict on this, he had plenty of time to get under it, but the rule states that if you are impeding a defender from coming to get a ball or whatever, a pop fly, a ground ball, it happens all the time. So you got to take that into account. It was the right call. It didn't look good, but the rules are the rules.
My question
All right,
is, my question on this is, if you watch the replay from behind home plate, it's pointed up. I don't know if it's a timing play. When the umpire points up, it's infield fly rule. If he had not pointed up and run into him, would it still have been a double play? That would have been my question. But it's a black and white rule. It's a yes or a no.
Yeah, like Rod said in the chat, it's a lame call, but the right call. That's that. I never know how to say this one, but I'll just say Dolk in the chat. It didn't really look like he impeded the fielder, and the fielder was easily able to make the play. And then, you have multiple people asking about the infield fly rule. Batter was out before the ball was caught. All right, so let me give a little more context here and a rebuttal from the other side. First off with the rule, because we showed it, but I'll read it for the podcast crowd. The rule 601A states penalty for interference A runner who is adjudged to have hindered a fielder who is attempting to make a play on a batted ball is out, whether it was intentional or not. And then I'll give you comments from Pierzynski because I'm sitting in his seat. He tweeted last night, I'm not exactly sure what Andrew Vaughn is supposed to do there. He's going back, not looking at the fielder, and he doesn't exactly knock Gunnar Henderson down. Bad call by the Ump Show. If this is the rule, then every fielder will start looking to get close to a runner on every infield fly. And Ozzie Guillen said he has never seen a call like this before. Umpires should be embarrassed right now. They should be ashamed of themselves. Any thoughts here? Go ahead, Kratz.
I mean, I understand why they're saying that, but it's the letter to me. I'm praising Junior Valentine. He was aware of what he's supposed to be looking at. And if you ever want to really be bored and also intrigued at the same time, watch 4 umpires in a game and who is supposed to be at what place. 93% of my arguments in high school baseball as a head coach are, you're not in the right place. That is not your call to be looking at that play. Junior Valentine is all over this call right here. He has 2 things on this play, and he's all over the call, so I'm taking the other side of it. They shouldn't be embarrassed. They should be impressed with how locked into what he needs to be locked into and seeing that.
Smart play by the fielder. That's it. That's it.
And a fan said, ball's not dead when the infield fly rule is called.
It's not dead. No, but what I'm asking is, because it's still a live ball, runners advance on their own risk. My question would be, if there was impediment before infield fly, because infield fly doesn't need to be called immediately. It can actually be called once the ball hits the ground. If they, deem it afterwards that it was infield fly, is that a timing play where he impedes him? Does it become a dead ball before the infield fly? Is my question. But it didn't matter. But that's just a, following the rules.
Okay, see, that was good.
Yeah.
I would people thought you were going to dunk on the umps, but we've actually had now 2 Ump Show segments this week where we sided with the umps. This is a show that's neutral. We're not just negative Nancy. We're also not just positive Pete. We just tell it like it is. Baseball.
We're weeping, but Ozzie and AJ, they're weeping White Sox. They were White Sox fans. Yeah. They were a little homerish on that one.
Yeah,
but it is crazy. I've never seen it before. I've never seen that happen before and called. But I don't know that I've ever seen it happen before. And if you're a base runner and you're in a pickle, you're in a rundown, you're trying to run into the person that just threw the ball. So maybe that's a play. As a defender, find a runner and try to run into him. Like, if you can field a big league ground ball or a big league pop-up and look for runners to try to run into, hey, you're better at baseballing than I am.
True.
All right, that was good. True. All right, we got a guest waiting for us. It's Tuffy Gosewisch. So before we get to that, let's get to our language learning expertise. Here with a little check. There it is. On Babbel, 1 in 5 Americans have learned a new language on their bucket list. You should try and make that happen, or at least follow along our journey to learning more Spanish. Babbel is the science-backed language learning app that actually works. It's designed by real people for real conversations, and I have a contest currently running with AJ to see who is going to be a better Spanish speaker after the next couple months. So I am working on my skills within the Babbel app, and the key that we keep going over, Kratz, is the fact that we are not just trying to learn vocab words or grammar. We're trying to actually be able to take a trip to a country and speak the language the way that someone would speak it if I'm trying to order, name that food at a food shack.
Or how about the fact that you can now connect with 32% of our opening day rosters in Major League Baseball? Like, the conversational piece is so important. I tell people I know 75 words in Spanish, but I can have a conversation with one of my teammates that is a meaningful conversation. Am I going to say it exactly right? I mean, I know my grammar is poor in Spanish. Like, I'm sitting there, you probably talk close to how I speak in English, just real blobbled. but it gets the point across, and that's how you make connections with people.
Yeah, that's
Very
true. I mean, his English grammar ain't the best either, but as long as he can communicate, you can be on a show, right? I'm not asking Kratz to do my homework. You know, he's not doing my 8th grade literature, but he can do that little sound, babble. So there are courses within the app to learn real life conversations in a different language. It's the real help you need. Like if you're trying to order food or ask for directions without having to consult those language apps and constantly be typing something in to try and communicate with someone. Also, their speech recognition technology helps you improve your pronunciation and accent. So we have a special limited time deal for FT watchers or listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription only for FT fam at babbel.com/foul, FOUL. Up to 60% off at babbel.com/foul. That's spelled BABBEL.com/foul. Rules and restrictions may apply. Let's get to our next guest right now. On FT Live for the first time, Tuffy Gosewisch joining us right now, former catcher, including the Diamondbacks and the Mariners, and also you can hear him on some D-backs games. Tuffy, great to have you on. You've got your boy Kratz next to you. How you doing?
That's right. I'm doing great now. Thanks for having me, guys. Me and Kratzy go way back, and then Frazier, obviously, trying to call pitches against Frazier is never fun. One, because he swings at everything, but two, usually because he hits it.
Hey, Tuffy, hey, listen, I've been getting a lot of praise today. I don't even know how to comment anymore. There's been so much, and thank you so much. My head's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
I just got to get this off my chest because it's you might know this, you might not. Your name is part of some of the most baseball lingo that people don't understand. So your name is Tuffy Gosewisch, right? So you might not know this, but when the goings were okay, so for me, the story that I get all the time, like spring training, the days are grinding or whatever, and people are like, oh man, it's getting tough out there. I'm like, nah, it's getting Tuffy Gosewisch out there. So I'm telling you, Kratz, you know what I'm talking about.
I know. Yep.
Whenever it got tough, it wasn't tough. It was Tuffy Gosewisch because it just rolled off the tongue. Man, how you doing? Oh man. It's Tuffy Gosewisch today, and everybody knew it's going to be a tough day. So you have to know that part of you if you've heard that before.
Well, I have heard that from a few other guys. I don't know if that's a compliment or a dig or what that is.
No, because you're a beast. That's why.
It's great.
Just name association. It's just like when a ball gets hit deep and you want it to get up a little bit more. People aren't like, oh, get up. They're like, Carrie Underwood. Like you want the ball to just get over the fence.
Hey, and I still use it today. I do it for the Little League kids. I'm like, bro, this ain't Tuffy Gosewisch out there. And they're like, what? I'm like, oh, Jesus. I forgot. My bad. Good shit, man. Good shit.
They have no idea who you're talking about.
Some do. And little factions of like Lehigh Valley, Reading, Lure,
yes.
and like Arizona Diamondback, like 2013, and like
Lakewood, right down the street.
Yep,
that's right.
Lakewood. Ooh, you know they love them some Tuffy in Lakewood. They're like, I think he's one of us. That's
right.
No, that is true, though. That's a good way to explain it. It's not positive, negative. It literally has nothing to do with your toughness. It just has to do with the uniqueness of your name. So first, let's get to business a little bit here. Give me your quick take on the Diamondbacks and what you're seeing so far this season.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that you look at what they've done so far, and it's, they're kind of just they're hanging in there right now is the way that I would put it. They've had some good runs, they've had some bad runs, and you look at the last series against the Dodgers. They came out, game one, they had one bad inning, and then they basically won the series from there on out. They lost game one, won the next two, and they're swinging the bats well. It's kind of been an all or nothing offense for them. So what I've seen is, when the offense is rolling, they've been doing well. They've got some good starting pitching out of the guys, and, it's hurt them a lot to have Erod on the IL to start the year, and then Merrill Kelly going down hurts a lot. So you lose those two guys. I think for the Diamondbacks right now, it's you continue to grind, and they don't even have Corbin Carroll going yet. So I think that Corbin Carroll is going to come back strong. I feel like there's a lot of things heading in the right direction. It's a tough division with the Dodgers, up top, and they're always going to be brutal to face, but overall, I think they need to just stay right where they're at, continue to get a little bit better, and then as they get those guys healthy, get them back and on the field, then I think they're going to be, that team that you saw at the end of the year last year.
Are you more or less positive on this team than, say, as an Arizona native that you were last year watching this team? At this point in the year, were you like, you know what? I'm good. Like, I'm fine. Corbin Carroll's going to win Rookie of the Year. Or are you more excited and yet you might get your heart broken this season?
No, I would say I'm more excited because of what you saw last year, the capability at the end of the season, right? I think that that it's in there, and you feel like the team added some good pieces. You really like the Erod addition as far as the starting rotation goes. But my thought is I'm more excited about this team. I think that you're going to have guys continue to play well that are playing well, but more than anything, I feel like it's a really well coached team, just all around. Torrey, guys love Torrey in the clubhouse, but I think that the coaching staff in general does a great job, all the way from pitching coach to first base coach to third base coach. I think that they do the little things right, and I feel like, Kratz, at the end of the season, it's like pitching and defense. You're not going to out hit everybody, so you got to have the fundamentals. You got to have pitching and defense down, and I think that those are things that they're going to be able to carry throughout the year. And for me, so far, like the standout guy, like Ketel Marte has been unreal. Watching him play, it feels like he's just put everything together this year.
I was just going to jump in on that. You talk about pitching and defense. Ketel Marte, 21-game hit streak. This guy's been phenomenal. I feel like he goes under the radar a little bit. I don't know why. He's well known in the baseball world, but he's not going to blow you away with the home runs, but he's just going to get on base. His swing, he's kind of got that upward tilt, and it just, bam, bat to the ball.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about him and his leadership, it looks like.
Yeah, I think that, he's a lead by example kind of guy. Like he just goes about his business. He gets the job done. And I think maybe that's why you don't hear as much about him. But, those guys you played with, and like every single muscle fiber they have is like a quick twitch muscle fiber. They can't do anything slow. Like this guy is one of the strongest, fastest, quick twitch guys I've ever seen. And so he's always had this capability. And now he's put all parts of his game together. So it's really special to see. At the plate, I think what's big for him is look at last year in the playoffs, how dominant he was. I feel like that confidence that he gained from the playoffs, you're just now going to see carry over, I would say for the rest of his career, because he really does have all the tools in there. So he has been a big help for them this year, carrying the offensive load when some guys are struggling a little bit. But I think that it's going to be fun to watch once you get Corbin back to where he is capable of being, and you get Alek Thomas healthy back in center field. You got to like where the Diamondbacks are at defensively, and then offensively, there's still some firepower there in the middle of that lineup.
James, tell me about Christian Walker and why we don't know enough about him. Like, to me, because he's a Pennsylvania native, he's built different. That's just reality of life. But why do we not talk about? Because I know in the desert, everyone's always talking about Christian Walker, and he's always hitting dingers. He's the quietest 30 home runs a season. But what are we missing as a national stage for baseball with Christian Walker?
I don't know. I think that Arizona guys in general just fly under the radar. I don't think that there's a lot of national television on these guys. And it's Christian Walker not only hits 30 homers a year, but he plays Gold Glove defense every single day. And he's won a couple of them now. And he's another guy that, he's quiet. He's not loud. He doesn't make a lot of noise. He doesn't showboat at all. And so I think that the big thing for being under the radar is just being in Arizona, a smaller market. You don't get a lot of national attention, but Christian Walker, he really does everything well. And I think that in the past, you've seen a tendency to be streaky, right? I think this year, so far, what I've really liked is his consistency has been really good at the plate. Overall, there hasn't been a whole lot of ups and downs. And, if he could hit in Dodger Stadium every day, it'd be a 50 homer guy. He hits a homer like one of every 9 at bats at Dodger Stadium. So that's the guy you want in there, and he's out there every day. He posts every day. He's in the lineup. He's going to be at first base. You write his name in, he's going to be there. So he's really done it all under the radar, like you said.
It's like you at Lehigh Valley Iron Pig Stadium, just one homer every day. That's exactly what it is.
One homer a year. You misspoke. One homer.
Well, whatever. Potato. You know, as an Arizona resident, you live in
Native.
Arizona still, right?
I do not. I live in California.
When did you move? I didn't know that.
Yeah, just last year we moved. Wife's family's here, and that's it.
Well, I didn't even know. It shows how much I'm such a bad friend. The last time I hung out, I didn't know that you moved. But I was going to lead that into the comments that ownership made about the stadium and needing renovations. I am like so naive into like I didn't know Atlanta needed a new stadium. Look at what they built. That thing was awesome. Like Fulton County, that place was freaking nice. And then they tore it down and they built a new one. And now they built the new one in the Battery. And that's awesome. Like, do you see that as something that owners, as the Diamondbacks owner, do you think it's something that they're sitting there going, I'm just posturing, they want to stay in Arizona? Or do you really see a possible chance of them moving?
You know, I don't know that they move. I think that, I don't know, I think you've started to build a good fan base in Arizona now, so I don't know that I see him moving. I sure hope not, as a lifelong Diamondbacks fan and former player. But, you know, I don't know as much. You know, I think that I'm kind of ignorant in all of that also, as far as like the owners and how they're doing things to get new stadiums or to get renovations even, right? Like, what do you need to do to get renovations done to the stadium that you're not able to get in the budget? I don't have a great answer for you, Kratzy, to be honest. Like, it's not something that I've looked into a whole lot. I hope that, you know, the Diamondbacks don't leave, and if they do move, it's somewhere else in Phoenix.
Because this was a big topic about a week ago, but it'd be cool to get your thoughts here. Wilson Contreras goes down for the Cardinals, you know, on that JD Martinez at bat, right? Our guys talked about it, and I'll like consensus it from them if you didn't catch what they were saying. But you know, you have coaches pushing the limit right now to try and steal strikes. Then all those strikes that you stole for the Cardinals, low strikes, end up being crap because you lost your best hitter for 2 months. So where are we at from a catching perspective right now?
You know, I saw Hedgie on here the other day talking about this and the fact that you can steal so many more strikes the closer you are. And everyone that I've talked to knows that, yes, you can steal more strikes the closer you are, but there's also a sweet spot. And Kratzy, you know this, like there's a sweet spot to where, yeah, you want to be as close as you can, but it's more of a feel thing. I got to feel, and everybody's swing is different. This is part of the game within the game, is I got to know each guy's swing, and I need to be able to understand if you know, somebody's going to have a deeper swing in the zone and keep the barrel in the zone longer like JD does. But you keep going up closer and closer and closer, and you're not, you know, you're just asking to get hit. So there's got to be a sweet spot, and they have information for this now. They know where guys set up every single pitch and how close they are, and they have it plotted on a chart, and you can see when you get strikes and when you get balls. But none of it is worth getting injured for. So in my opinion, the Contreras thing, it looked like he was so close to the batter that it was almost guaranteed to get hit. And Kratzy, tell me if I'm wrong, but you know, I don't remember ever getting hit in the glove or anywhere other than the glove. Like, I never got hit in the hand, certainly never got hit in the wrist. So to get hit anywhere other than the back of the mitt is kind of shocking to me.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm so glad that we're gonna end on this, because it's side by side here. This is how crazy the media sports world is. I'm on TV with this face, and you're on radio with that face. I have the face for radio. You have the face for TV. So I don't know if we can do some kind of swap. I mean, look at your hair. It's so perfectly coiffed. It's unbelievable.
See all the gray. There's a lot of gray now. A lot of gray.
That's one thing. I don't have any gray.
You do
no gray.
If you did, no one would know.
No. Hey, zip it, okay? This is people are listening to this, okay? Maybe they think I sound like I have a huge nose and flowing hair.
No, I just mean you always have a hat on. That's all I meant. You're always wearing a hat, so no one would know.
Love it.
There you go.
Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Hope that your day is. I mean, I got to go here. I hope that your day is solid and it's not Tuffy Gosewisch for you today. All right.
Yeah.
I love that drop in right there. You know what? I just want to say you guys are doing some awesome stuff on here, and I love watching it. So it's a lot of fun to watch, and I'll keep giving Kratzy as much shit as I can for as long as we're alive.
Please
James
do.
Benjamin, I appreciate you being on.
Thank
you, Tuffy.
James
Good
Benjamin, my real
name.
name. No one knows that. James Benjamin. That's why Kratzy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's what I was called.
Well, we could do it's all about the Benjamins Gosewisch, but it doesn't flow as nicely.
No, not yeah. It's Tuffy Gosewisch kind of day. All right.
We had a guy named Rosenberger. We had a guy named Rosenberger on our team, and he would always call him Jimmy. And it was somebody else used to call you Jimmy all the time too, and it made me laugh every time. But anyway,
Pedroia still calls me James or Jimmy all the time. Pick up that name.
Yeah, pick that name up. You just try. It's below you. It's below you. It's down there. It's down there. Okay?
Yeah.
You pick that up.
All right, boys.
We'll find it. Good to talk to you, Tuffy. Thanks for the praise. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, fellas. Take care.
You too. Tuffy Gosewisch with us on FT Live. Good stuff. That was great. A quickie look also at the FT shop, foulterritoryshop.com, and actually a shout out to Jonathan, who sent us a little note and picked up a whole bunch of swag. He went down the line in the store and just said, T-shirts, check. Sweatshirts, check. Mugs, check. Stickers, check. Wristbands, check.
He went shopping spree style. He went the game. He just went the whole shelf and was just like, swipe it all off of there.
He sent a note, though, especially to Kratz. He said, thanks so much, fellas. Love the merch. You got to show this attached pic to my college rival, Erik Kratz, so he sees how much he likes and appreciates it with my Bridgewater diploma. Love watching you guys. Send my love to Kratz. I like giving him the EMU Bridgewater rivalry business on the chats. He went to EMU. I went to Bridgewater. Our colleges are rivals to each other in the same county, so I have to give some digs to him. Take care.
Let's go, Bridgewater, baby.
No. Yeah. Don't do that, Todd. Don't do that, Todd.
Oh, I thought you went to Bridgewater.
No. He's first of all, nobody actually gets a diploma from Bridgewater. All they get is sideburns and debt.
It's right there.
No, it's the case. Anybody can get the case.
It's right there.
No. And look, like he's got his computer. Nobody's even using that's exactly what happens at Bridgewater. Nobody even uses a computer like that. Like there's no chair to sit at.
Don't
Bridgewater, please.
The guy just bought some merch from us.
Let's take it back.
For life.
Let's take it back.
There you go. That was one of my rivals in high school, but it was Bridgewater Raritan High School.
Bridgewater Raritan.
Yeah, you know, it's a good school. All right, let's get some locks in there and also preview some games for the weekend.
Ooh.
You like that, Top Father? I don't think you've been on since the lion came to the party.
No, I love it. I want to buy a lion and put him in my backyard.
What is this, Hangover? Are you Mike Tyson?
Yeah, I do. I want one now.
That was the lion that I saw when I was in Africa.
That was the one. Well, that's a nice one. He looks kind of chill. Like he looks like he won so much money that he's just enjoying retirement life. But anyway, napping. We have napping, exactly. We have games which what the rich former ball players do, except for the ones that want to hustle, like the ones above and below me on the show right now. All right, MLB free game of the day streaming on the BetMGM app. Live streaming available to all BetMGM customers. If you're logged in and you have a funded account, then you get to watch some free baseball. The 3 games this weekend that are free for you are Astros A's on Friday, Rangers Twins on Saturday, Giants Mets on Sunday. The Astros just took down the A's in a 4-game sweep. What was that? Maybe like a week and a half ago. Twins obviously looking to keep things rolling against Texas Rangers ball club that has been struggling and just got swept up by the Phillies. We can't talk about the Phillies every day, but for some fans, like, we get it. They're really good. They're flying right now. And then Giants Mets is a game to check out on Sunday. Ready for locks?
Lock it up.
That's fresh. That looks like
that
a
green.
clean sweep yesterday. Clean sweep. Gausman had more Ks than Flaherty. That was an upset. Gausman and Flaherty hit their K marks. And I got a little 8-6 Baltimore win. Also, I doubled down. Baltimore was losing 2-1 early, and it was almost even money. And I'm like, are you joking? It was like the third or fourth inning. I was like, is anyone paying attention here to this live bet? I did it twice. I hit it. I put down, it was like minus either 105 or 115. And I was like, I got to hit that. Because I was watching. That was the game I was watching. And I wasn't feeling well. And then like 5 minutes later, I mean, there had been like one out since. And I'm like, one more. So that was nice.
I love that. And all those green checks, if you're following along with the FT parlay, plus with the BetMGM extra boost it gave me, nice little 1,100 plus 1,100 win last night from the FT boost.
Very nice.
That is music to Todd Father's ears.
I wish I was there for that.
Yes. Do we have Pap? Sorry, I'm asking this while we're going. Just Pap's pick. Okay, so I'll show you Pap's pick as we're chatting here. We'll do him last because we'll show it on the graphic. But let's go Todd Father first.
Yeah, I'm going to go first. Mine's pretty simple. We got Graham Ashcraft playing against James Paxton, the Reds, Dodgers. I see no runs in this first inning, and I will give you, it's even money, of course, 200 to win 200. I see both lefties getting after it, mixing their pitches up, and, Dodgers are in Cincinnati, so it's going to be a slow start and then a big pickup at the end. So no runs first inning in the Reds-Dodgers game, 2 to win 2.
Boom. There you go. I'm going to keep it simple tonight, just watching one pitcher. It's the Giants going up against the New York Metropolitans. I've got Kyle Harrison to make it through more than 15 outs. Can I get 16 outs from Kyle Harrison tonight of the San Francisco Giants? Kind of flying under the radar. And I'm looking at the Mets on base percentage against pitchers like him, and it's pretty terrible. So they also had a hell of a last couple days of relief pitcher usage. It is time to give the man a little bit more leeway right now. Okay. It's time to turn him into an adult from a young pup, and tonight's the night. So I see him having a strong performance. I could see him going 7 innings tonight if he's feeling it, right? Just got to keep it economical. You still have those moments where you see the flashes from the minor leagues that made it take him a little bit longer to get up to the show, where the command's not quite there. But if he's on, Kyle Harrison's a dude. So that's my pick tonight, 110 to win a hundo. Kratz?
I like that. I like that. He can attack that lineup too with his stuff. I really like that. I am definitely tailing. I'm going with the little money line parlay here. I'm going to go Phillies going into Colorado. Obviously, a lot of runs scored, but they're traveling, so there may be a few less. That's why I didn't go with the over. But they're facing Ty Block and the Rockies bullpen. They give up the most runs going against the lineup that scores the most runs in the game. So I like that combo. And then I also went Diamondbacks versus the Marlins. Zach Gallen on the hill. I trust in Zach Gallen. It was 5-3, almost below 3 ERA. That's my parlay. And I think it's 126 plus 126.
Boom. There it is. And there's Pap. He's going with the Diamondbacks as well, and he's going to take the Orioles money line, which is smart. I mean, it's that Orioles line tonight is tough to even go on a run line 1.5. I can't often do the 2.5. That's when you get closer to even money, because the run line at 1.5 for that Orioles game tonight, when I first looked in the morning, because I was like, yeah, I'm going to pick on that again. Burns is pitching minus 160, and I'm just like, for 1.5, like. So now I need 3 or more. It gets a little too much for me. Plus the Orioles bullpen's mid. It is. That's where they're going to do damage at the trade deadline. So anyway, there's your locks. And first off, it's BetMGM Big Money Week on Wheel of Fortune. BetMGM's giving away up to $10 million in bonuses all week long. You can take a spin on the Big Money Wheel for daily prizes and a chance to win $10,000. If you're an account holder and you play the Big Money Wheel, and we're about to show you a nice little clip from Wheel of Fortune that you'll enjoy, you have the opportunity to win a reward when they spin the wheel. And reward types include Parlay Boost tokens, Odds Boost tokens, SGP Boost tokens, Bet Insurance tokens, and bonus bets. And we do have a little viral clip to show you from Wheel of Fortune that I believe took place last night.
So hilarious.
Tavares, right in the butt?
What?
No. Blake.
This is the best.
Yeah, that's it.
Listen, it is a phrase. It is a phrase. I'm not mad at the guy. It is a phrase, right in the butt.
For a different show, but yeah, it is a phrase.
Hey, I wasn't mad at him.
No, it's good pub. Seriously, like he actually didn't even say anything that you couldn't put on national television.
No,
and
right in the butt.
You want to remind the world that you got a show that's real popular and bring a few more people in. You get one of those moments. Sorry, but it's really good publicity.
Right in the butt. He kind of gave like right in the butt. Like
yeah, like he wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna go viral with this. He was just like, I got it.
It was a speed round, and my favorite part was the woman goes, "What?
What?" She's like, "Not my booty." Yeah, she gasped like it was the end of the world. It wasn't really that big of a deal, but it was funny. Very funny.
It was hilarious. It was good. That was well played. And then also I want to remind everyone about the Grand Slam jackpot weekend. So we'll give our home run picks coming up in just a sec. But it's a weekly bet and get. It's still running for you. A $10 or more wager on any player to hit a home run over the weekend. So in a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday game, if a player hits a Grand Slam on that day, you can win a $50,000 daily prize or a share of that prize with every other winning bettor. And let's get home run picks from each of you. I'll go last because I have to sneeze. So please mute me for a sec. Thank you. Kratz, you want to go first?
I got Alec Bohm. Alec Bohm's going into Colorado. And yeah, there's more doubles in Colorado than there is home runs. I get that. But he's facing Ty Block tonight. Alec Bohm, you can't not entice me with a little plus 550. Ooh. Alec Bohm's going to hit a little breaking ball, a little cutter in, just like I hit a home run against Ty Block. So we're team. We're team Alec Bohm and Kratz.
Humble brag.
Just a brag, not even humble.
No, I'll give it both. For me, Juan Soto going back to San Diego. Mm-hmm. I think Yu Darvish is a really good pitcher. Don't get me wrong, but I see him scooping a little jelly, wrapping it around the corner there for a home run at plus 320. Very enticing. I think Juan Soto does it in San Diego.
Yeah, we're picking some big names. We're looking for grannies, too. I'm going to have to get this on the second run through the order, of course, for Shohei, because I'm looking for grand slams, right? I'll go Shohei tonight in Cincinnati in the bandbox. You got Graham Ashcraft on the mound. I think he gives up a little dinger city to Mr. Ohtani.
And I did say Graham was a lefty when he's a righty. That's my mistake. Thank you.
He is a righty for Mr. Shohei to smash. There you go. We cleaned it all up. Actually, I want to clean something else up. So from our conversation with Ken Rosenthal, we got some information on who's footing the bill in Sacramento. Okay, so it sounds like it will be coming from the Oakland Athletics for those renovations, which does make sense because Sacramento's not getting much else, it sounds like, for doing all of this, unless, of course, they end up getting the team itself. So there's an MLB.com story that said Suter Health Park in Sacramento went through the multi-million-dollar facilities reno that included upgrades to the clubhouses, and the A's will continue to modify the ballpark to meet MLB standards, including upgrading LED lighting and adding an additional clubhouse, among other items. That's good to know, actually, Kratz. Maybe Mason Miller can get his dream of an entrance that is grand and doesn't include the lights going out forever.
They turn them off. And they're not
never coming back
on. We're canceling the bottom of the 9th inning. Thank you for coming to the Coliseum.
You knew what was going to happen anyway. Aside from that one game, Mason Miller was going to punch out 3 tickets, and he was going to throw 103, and you can watch a replay. When he's on the road, he'll do it for you. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Yes.
Some other notes, though. So Evan Drellick, got all the good little tidbits from that owners meeting. So let's hit 2 topics. One tweet about Commissioner Manfred on the uniform glory over the past year that really made our sport look its best, and I mean that in multiple ways. MLB owners met with, I'm sarcastic, MLB owners met with Nike at the owners meetings in New York this week, and the quote from Manfred was, "Let me say it this way. I think they appropriately took responsibility for the issues with respect to the new uniforms and the rollout of those uniforms." So, and that's lawyer talk. If you get, a couple drinks in and you're after a round of 18 or something, he would have said, yeah, Nike bombed it. And then they came to us and apologized and said, sorry for embarrassing you, but you're on a $1 billion contract. So wear it and let's fix this together. Or hopefully they said that. So I am actually looking at the positive side of things. And even though it took, 3-4 months for everyone to admit it, they are working on fixing the problem. It's just that we all knew it was a problem as soon as they came out. And the quotes, if you look back to the beginning of spring training, were hilarious from the gatekeepers of our game. Hilarious. They essentially said, wear it, you'll get used to it.
It is crazy because I talked to another clubby, a different clubby than I talked to earlier. And they said in spring training, they were wearing the old jerseys and they were told, that's totally fine. I know they're not doing real well. And they were told and they kept them. And then all of a sudden other teams were like, whoa, we want to wear the old jerseys. And then they came back to that team and they said, no, you have to wear the same jerseys everyone else is wearing. So they doubled down on the fact that they were like, yeah, these you guys are going to have to really just enjoy these uniforms at least for a year. But I'm glad to see that they're taking some ownership, but money talks.
Money
It's
does
just funny. Yeah, it's funny though. It's like, hey, we actually can fix this problem temporarily while you fix the problem. Ultimately, it would just be wearing old stuff. And they're like, no old stuff. That wouldn't be fair to everyone else. You'd suddenly have players like hitting up all the auction sites, finding old shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I got your jersey.
Yeah. We had one guy, I can't remember if it was in The Athletic because they did a great job covering this or if it was on our show, but didn't somebody say like they had to go to Dick's Sporting Goods and just start racking up pants? Someone said that. It was probably in the article. I saw it. I'm not lying. Yeah. It's definitely a thing. Yeah. So it might have been in the article and not on this show, but it was good.
I remember somebody came on our show and said, you can't go to Dick's Sporting Goods and get a better pair of pants than you can get in a big league locker room.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a problem. And Castellanos said his kid's little league has better unis. That too is a problem. So let's get it together. All right. All right. Here's the next one. A little bit of news here in my mind. Commissioner Manfred on the Robo umps. There's a growing consensus in large part based on what we're hearing from players that the challenge form should be the form of ABS. If and when we bring it to the big leagues, at least as a starting point. And then this is Drellick commenting after the quote. He's held this opinion for a while, others coming around. What's that face, Kratz?
Well, I mean, come on. If and when we bring it to the big leagues, come on, stop it, Rob. It's coming.
Yeah, but I don't know. But it's still news. Like I think there was a point where we said we're definitely going to get automatic balls and strikes. It's going to happen soon, and it's going to be for every pitch. I actually think the narrative has shifted to we're definitely getting a challenge. There was a point. Yeah. I mean, it was back when I was over, at the league. I mean, I wasn't getting it from the league. It was just kind of like what everyone said. They're like, oh, it's eventually going to happen. They're testing it, so it's going to happen. I don't feel like they're totally comfortable yet with the technology for every pitch. Because I do think that you're dealing with major league pitchers, and we've covered this. They're going to find flaws, glitches, and they're just going to nail those glitches. So on a pitch-by-pitch basis, it's apparently not there yet. But for the challenge system, I think we're getting close. I don't know if we're getting it next year or if it might be one more year. Like if they still feel like they need to work out the kinks. I mean,
I just think the if and when part is, come on.
It's when.
He can just say when. He can just say when. But he's posturing like, I know the Players Association are going to sit there and go, well, we need to get something if you're going to automatically impose another rule without.
Exactly.
So he's dotting his I's and crossing his T's, but it's a when it comes in. And I think the challenge system is awesome until somebody gets screwed in the challenge system, because I forget who it was. What umpire we had? Was it Joe West that was on? And he was talking about the challenge or the ABS system still misses like 7 to 10 balls a game. So
really? Wow.
I forget exactly who it was, but I think the challenge system is awesome, and I think it needs to be rolled out within the next 2 years.
I think the game's going to love it too, Todd. I think people are going to love it. It just gives you one other thing to root for. It's almost like betting without actually having to bet if you don't want to, right? Like you could be sitting with your buddies and you could be like, yo, they need to challenge that pitch. That was so off just now. And then they do. And then they're like, got him. Let's go. You suck. People here, umpire is umpire, referee, all that. It's a tough job, but it is fun to prove them wrong. It's just part of entertainment. Like you got to wear it. So when they're wrong and the crowd is right, they're going to love it. They're going to be like, let's go.
It still kind of shows the human element that umpires aren't right all the time and players aren't going to be right all the time. So this is just going to match everyone's energy and everybody's not going to be as many arguments. And it's just going to make the game, and it goes quick too. It takes like 10 seconds, whatever, boom, get it going, striker ball, and you go from there. So the main thing is putting on restrictions on how many you can do. So that would be the only thing next.
You know what I'm looking forward to with the challenges is when a player knows that the ump was way off, they challenge it right away, and then they're right, and seeing their reaction, because
and they look
you're gonna
at
have,
like,
So there will still be some ejections because there's going to be some hurt feelings, and there is going to be that player, that first player that's like, fucking told you you're off.
Yep.
He's doing shit all night, and he's going to be like, well, you're still gone. Okay, we'll see you later. It's going to be great. And then there's going to be some players that like just can't, like they're just trying to hold it in because they're like, I don't want to embarrass him, but freaking he's so off, and like, I got it right. No, I got to just dig in for the next pitch. It's going to be good. I'm telling you, I'm excited for the entertainment aspect.
What I want to see is post game, dudes throwing each other under the bus, teammates throwing each other under the bus. If Nick Castellanos hadn't used all our challenges up, I would have challenged there. But it's all right. I still hit a walk-off homer. Like that would be the fun part.
That is true. That's going to be good. All right, so look forward to that. A little shout out as we get close to the finish line before the 3-day weekend. If you want to check these out, the FT Teaser Pucks are here for the world. You can also use the discount code FOUL, FOUL, for 20% off your first order at teasenergy.com. Energy pouches that we love, that we use, and that, of course, are nicotine and tobacco free. This is not dip by any means. That's the whole point here. We are very, very anti-dip. It is a big problem still in our sport. So if you feel like you want a little energy boost and you need something, right? If you're someone that's like, yo, I need to go beyond like chewing gum or something like that, this is what we approve right here, and this is why we made our own custom pucks, and it's a cool collector's item too. So go check them out at teasenergy.com. It is the first time they've ever done a multi-pack in one little puck, wintergreen and tropical together. Go give them a look, and let's slap. Apparently there was a really good article about Angel Hernandez. I think it was Sam Blum. So, yeah, I didn't have time to digest it yet, but we'll file that one for a little Tuesday talk. But we do have more shows coming up after this one. It's a special. If you're into college baseball, this is the show for you. Right after FTNs in like 5 minutes, we have a special edition of Hot Sheet. If you've never seen the show before, we run it on Tuesdays. We talk about top prospects and the draft. And so we're going to go over the College World Series and the playoffs, all that coming up. So the preview show is next. JJ Cooper and myself, but really the star of the show for Baseball America, Teddy Cahill, covers college baseball like extensively. He is the guru. So he's Jordan, he's Trout, he's Ohtani in that show. We're just going to be role players, just having a good time, just tossing him alley-oops, and he's going to just dunk his way to previewing what the tournament's going to look like, top seeds, who's in, who's out, who he thinks will end up in and out, the whole deal. So check that out. You can also get it afterward on the Baseball America, Spotify, Apple channels on their podcast pages or on their YouTube channel as well. But if you're watching right now, you don't have to do anything. It'll just flow right into the Hot Sheet Show for a little bonus content on a Friday. Now, we also have a special shout out. It is someone's birthday who works very hard for us behind the scenes, and he loves himself some New York Yankees. Okay. Oh, you guys are both Yanks, former Yanks. So go ahead. I feel like he'll enjoy it even more from you. Happy birthday, Derek.
Happy birthday, Derek. You're doing a great job, man.
Derek, I can't believe you're this old. Like, we're almost the same age. But anyway, happy birthday from the dentist.
And check out his page too, NYY Recaps, his YouTube channel, post-game recaps of all the Yanks and other content. But happy birthday, Derek. Those were some great photos too. Well done, Claudia. You got Soto being Soto, Judge looking cool, and Aaron Boone's face is so good.
He's got to be so, yeah, I mean, obviously we took that picture from the game where Booney got thrown out from Laz Diaz, but when I texted Judgy and Soto, they said, yeah, I would definitely love to pose for a picture for Derek's birthday.
Yeah,
so Derek's got to feel good.
That's very nice of you to do that, Kratz.
Yeah, give us your best face. And Booney's like, this is my happy birthday face. Good. Do we have one more? We have something I'm seeing here about unique bats. Are we doing that? We don't have to, but I'm just wondering. I'm struggling through it too. This is like maybe my flu game. I don't know.
This
Going
is your Jordan.
strong. Okay, we have it. You know what this is?
12 bat bottles. I read that. I'm like, what is a bat bottle? You ready?
Whoa.
You ready for a bat bottle?
I want to see what a bat bottle is, please.
All right, take that out. How cool is this?
Oh, dang. That is
a bat bottle.
Very cool.
Crazy. Look at that.
That is very cool.
A bat bottle.
Cheers.
Dink.
Very nice.
That is epic. That's a beer can.
That's a great Bambino bat bottle there.
That's my kind of That's my kind of bottle.
I love it. That's really neat.
That's cool. I like that. Kratz hats?
Well, I wore it yesterday. Since it's Derek's birthday, though, I figured I'd troll him. Wear it, Derek!
For the podcast crowd, Erik Kratz is wearing a Boston Red Sox hat for by far the biggest Yankees fan on the FT team.
You look more bald than you're bald today. Is that weird to say?
Extra bald?
Extra bald.
Nice.
That's a compliment.
Yeah, wow. If somebody says I look like Mega Man, is it Mega Man who had the Mega Mind?
Yeah.
Mega Mind? That means I got a good shave in. And
there's not one hair on you. That's amazing.
Ooh, I love that. I'd let you touch it, Todd, but you're not coming to PA anytime soon.
He's like, thanks, I'm moisturizing very well this week. Getting his sunshine, but also moisturizing. And make sure you wear sunscreen. Enjoy your long weekend if you have it. And also
happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Yes, exactly. Honor all of those that have served and all those that we have lost for Memorial Day weekend. We'll talk more about that on Tuesday. We will see you then. No show Monday, but we'll have podcasts for you. So go check it out on the podcast page. Hot Sheet coming up next. Don't move.
Hot Sheet.